Greetings and welcome to the 37th episode of Retro Rant. It's been a long time since we last reviewed an adventure game, so now we will be taking a look at Curse of Enchantia, released in 1992 by Core Design for Amiga and DOS. Of course, we're talking about the Amiga version here. This is a game I had back in the day and I still remember being enchanted, see what I did there, with the astonishing visuals, but quitting the game after a while because of several severe flaws. So let's see if the game is any good in retrospect or as flawed as I remember it to be. We take control of Brad, a typical teenager who was having a game of baseball with his sister, but an evil witch teleported him to her dimension to use him as an ingredient for a youth potion. Now I understand that baseball is a sport that can only be described as magical, but the witch could have just magicked away some skincare cream and left our poor hero alone. Anyway, Brad finds himself shackled in the witch's dungeon, so he has to escape, kill the witch, and return to his world, hopefully developing a healthy aversion for baseball. The graphics of the Curse of Enchantia are simply amazing. The hand-drawn locations are mesmerizing, and the use of 32 colors is fantastic. The sprites are also quite well done, even though the objects could have been better defined in some cases, since there is no text in this game, so you have to rely on looks alone. The animation and the scrolling, as is typical in adventure games, is quite poor. The sound in this game ranges from non-existent to repetitive and annoying. Unfortunately, there is no music in Curse of Enchantia, apart from a forgettable and not very fitting tune in the title screen, although this is the best part of the game as far as audio is concerned. The rest of the game has some very limited speech, which gets old very soon, some ambience, and a few sound effects. The lack of music detracts a lot from this game and makes the overall world bland and boring, even with their superb artwork. But the worst part of Curse of Enchantia is the abysmal control system. The game is icon-driven, but you have to use a trillion icons for similar actions, which sometimes make sense, but a lot of time they just don't, and you will find yourself fighting not against the witch, but against the clunky controls. There are more than a few times that you will know the solution to the puzzle, but will not solve it because you have used the wrong icon. Let me use an example, spoiling only the flaws of the interface. There is a hole in which there is an item A you need, and you have an item B that can pull it out. There is an icon for insert, so you would normally use this icon, right? No, instead you have to use the throw icon, throwing item B into the hole, which for some unknown reason pulls out item A. All this frustration could have ended if the game had only a single icon for use instead of this mess. Another gripe is that the game doesn't have any apparent hotspots, but you have to walk to a place and only then you can interact with the objects there. This might sound like a minor problem, but this mechanic is implemented so poorly in this game that it all ends up as an exercise in frustration, since the exact place where you stand can also determine if an action works or not, and we saw in Bargon Attack what a great game design feature this is. Heck, special mention should be given to the save game naming mechanic, which is the worst that I've seen in an adventure game, since you cannot use the Amiga keyboard you have in front of you. No, you have to type the file name in a tiny on-screen keyboard using the mouse, so after a few attempts you end up with very useful file names such as ah. The only good thing I can say about the controls of this adventure game is that they are not as rubbish as Chrono Quest. Another issue with Enchantia is the lack of text. While I have to give props to the developers for taking a chance to be original here, I feel that this choice doesn't work very well, since you only have a vague idea of what's happening and everything feels superficial and forgettable. The dialogues with the NPCs also suffer because of this lack of text, condemning these NPCs to just being caricatures instead of organic, three-dimensional entities in an unfolding storyline. And talking of storyline, it will come as no surprise that there isn't any, and the whole game is comprised of disjointed locations which, after you complete, you go to yet another disjoint location, rinse and repeat. The overall experience is unbelievably linear and uninteresting, and the only thing that will drive you on is what beautiful graphics will unfold next. The puzzles of Curse of Enchantia suffer as well because of these drawbacks. And if that wasn't enough, the puzzles themselves are often quite illogical, leading to the time-tested noble technique of trying everything on everything until something works, which is something that all adventure gamers adore. And this is the only time this game gets three-dimensional, because you don't only have to do that, but you also have to try everything on everything else and using all possible icons until something works, so be prepared for some delicious patience testing sessions. As if this weren't enough, there are some other major adventure game sins, such as annoying action sequences, as well as a fair bit of pixel hunting. Really, core design should have stuck with platform games. Not all is garbage in this game though. Enchantia is filled with a slapstick kind of silly humor that is actually pretty good. I especially enjoyed the vampire part, but there are nice touches all throughout the game, and I found myself really laughing at times. Another significantly positive thing about this game is that you cannot die, so you can try all kinds of dumb stuff, and you also cannot get stuck, so you needn't worry about having forgotten something important in an unreachable location. What baffles me about this game once more is the scores that this thing gets everywhere, well into the 80s and 90s. This confirms once more the essence of Amiga gaming. If the graphics are great, the game is great as well. The Amiga library is full of highly rated, sugar-coated turds, and this veneration just meant that a whole bucket load of such games would still be coming. Overall, Curse of Enchantia isn't so bad as to fall into the sugar turd category, but it is still a below average adventure that you are better off watching a long play in YouTube, in which you will enjoy all that the game has to offer, the fabulous eye candy and the humor, whilst avoiding the Olympic frustration caused by its plentiful shortcomings. I hope Universe, the core design adventure game that followed this one, is better, but I don't have any high expectations. So that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.